There are dangers in walking in every city, and in Ho Chi Minh it was the motorbikes that scared me the most. Coming from every direction and in such numbers, it made negotiating street crossings a risky business. With this in mind, I arranged a motorbike city tour that would take me off the pavements and into the swarms of two-wheeled commuters. It's more expensive than taking a tour bus, but there is no set route and can offer a very different view of Vietnam's most populated city. I asked Quang, my driver-guide, to show me the real Saigon, and we set off in the opposite direction to the tour groups, into the back streets of Chinatown. More commonly referred to by its pre-1975 name Saigon, Ho Chi Minh has had a varied and at times violent past. The 90 years of French colonial rule had the greatest influence on the architecture, much of which still stands in the centre of the city. We started at the fabric market with its rich colours and quiet bustle. Looking above the street stalls, large column French windows with iron balconies reminds of a previous era where traders gathered to fill their ships with local products bound for Europe. We moved on to Cho Bin Thai Market, where I spent over an hour losing myself in the century-old narrow corridors of small stalls selling everything from dried mushrooms to plastic sandals, and then an 18th century Buddhist temple where as long as you take your shoes off, you are free to wander amongst the monks and religious icons alike. Feeling hungry, I asked Quang to introduce me to some typically Vietnamese food, and he stopped the motorbike outside an old Saigon beer garden. Inside, people sat on plastic chairs and drank a house-made brew. Quang ordered spicy chicken wings and shredded pork, along with the beer. "Do you mind if I drink one bottle? It's a legal limit to drive in Ho Chi Minh," Quang asked. He was a careful driver, and I was happy for him to share in the experience. As we mounted the bike to set off for the afternoon, a man carrying a keyboard on the back of a motorbike rushed past. There is very little the Vietnamese won't place on the back of a motorbike, and by the end of the day I barely glanced when a man carrying 8 large boxes and 3 bags of electric fans passed me. Barely 10 minutes into our short tour of the old canals, the heavens opened and we sped off to find the sanctuary of an old coffee shop. Be warned, a motorbike tour in Ho Chi Minh normally includes a drenching at some point. Sipping sweet iced coffee under a covered sidewalk was a pleasant way to dry off and quiz Quang about the different routes tourists take. Most people like to see the War Museum and the old section of the city. I was not in the mood for museum wanderings, but asked him to see some of the more established landmarks. The Fine Art Museum, Botanical Gardens, the Central Post Office, Opera House, Reunification Palace, City Hall and Notre Dame Cathedral were all quickly ticked off with a glance inside and a photograph for the album. This is where the motorbike tour really comes into its own, as unlike the buses, it's easy just to hop off and have a quick look round and then head to the next destination. To finish the day, we headed to the Saigon River, where we joined yet more motorcyclists crammed onto a small platform that sails across the river. It's a fascinating ride, with views one way to the docks of Saigon Port and the other to the ever-rising skyscrapers of the city. After we returned, I treated Quang to one more beer on the rooftop garden of the French Riviera-styled Hotel Majestic, where if the rain abates, you can watch the sunset over the river and recap on the experience of a day in Ho Chi Minh. This is DJ Clark in Ho Chi Minh for China Daily.